Hello and welcome back to the Life and Urs channel. Hope you are doing well today. We are continuing our series where we dive into some really interesting vintage watches. Today we're going to be looking at a really beautiful Eterna-Matic manufactured in the 1950s. We'll obviously give you some more close-ups of this watch as we go on with this video, but I don't even know if that focused, but a really beautiful stainless steel Eterna-Matic with a black dial, which is obviously a little bit more on the rare side. These pieces are really interesting, obviously from an innovation standpoint when it comes to automatic movements and watchmaking, but also I think from an attractive perspective. So this is going to be the first watch we dive into. You probably saw it in our video from last week. If you watched that, if you haven't, you can go back and watch that video and you'll see some of the pieces that we're going to be covering over the next several weeks. But we're going to be starting off with this Eterna-Matic. So without further ado, let's jump into this video. Learning about new innovations in the watch industry can be an exciting part of collecting watches. Brands always look to push the envelope of design, material sciences, and engineering in watchmaking. Many times the brands making the largest strides in this department are independent or smaller brands that are not owned by large public companies, mainly because they have more freedom to experiment with things that they can improve. Although we should never discount the ability of larger brands to innovate in the same way. Eterna, which began its emergence in the watch industry in 1956, was a big player in watchmaking innovation. So to give you a little bit of background on the brand while I kind of show you this piece, Eterna started its journey as a brand in 1856. Dr. Joseph Girard and Urs Schild took an entrepreneurial step with the growing Swiss watch industry and began producing movements. Their company was called Dr. Girard and Urs Schild and was located in Grenchen, which is located in the Canton of Solothurn. They produced semi-finished and fully finished movements. In 1866, Dr. Girard left the company and Schild decided to move into other areas of innovation. He diversified the company into automatic manufacturing machines and steam engines, as well as the watchmaking part of the business. As time went on, producing ebauches movements became less profitable for Schild, so Schild decided to continue their watchmaking journey, but instead produced fully assembled watches, the first watch being a pocket watch presented in 1876. During this time, Urs's brother Adolph had joined the company so they went through a little bit of a rebrand. The company was, from that point forward, their factory was known as the Watch Factory Brothers Schild. And the company was known as Schild Fréres Co. I suppose the question is, when did Eterna really show up on the dials? In 1890, Eterna began being printed on the dials of some of the watches the company was produced. Most of the time it was written with underneath the name of the company. It was only in 1906 when the company was renamed once again to Eterna-Matic Gebrüder Schild Co, when the name was fully adopted. The company has an immense history ingrained in the history of watchmaking, but we're going to skip through a lot of the important dates for this brand and go straight to the Eterna-Matic, which is what we're holding in our hands today. By 1948, the automatic movement had been introduced and was in full production by many brands, Rolex being the pioneer in 1931. Most brands were focused on improving the movement, as general wear and tear of these watches would lead to movements becoming less accurate and reliable. This stemmed from friction between the components of the watch. Eterna decided to take a little bit of a different path than many other brands did and introduced the ball bearing mounted rotor. The idea with this movement was to use 5 miniature ball bearings that supported the automatic rotor. It reduced the bearing friction and helped the watch operate more smoothly and increased its reliability. What you'll probably notice on the dial of this watch is you see these 5 dots. This cluster of 5 dots is referencing exactly that. Eterna adopted the logo resembling the ball bearings that were placed in their rotors as the official brand logo. This technology really led to a huge amount of success for the brand and became an extremely important part of watchmaking going forward. The watch that you see in front of you today is an Eterna-Matic manufactured in 1952, 4 years after this innovation was introduced. The reference number is unknown, unfortunately, although using some pretty helpful sources that I have online, I'll leave a link in the show notes for you to see them. The reference likely started out with a 1, as Eterna used this to denote stainless steel cases. It's either a B/ or a T or TT, indicating a waterproof case, as you can see with this screw-down case back. The case measures 33.5 millimeters in diameter and is in fairly strong condition. The case has likely been polished, as you can see from sort of the tone of the overall case. There is actually a serial number on the case back of this watch that is quite faint, however visible with a loop. The lugs are long and straight, but curved towards the wrist, as you can see from this side view. This sets the watch really nicely on the wrist because of these curved lugs, but it does wear smaller than if this watch was a little flatter and these lugs kind of extended outwards. The lugs have holes, which is really great, making it easy to swap straps of this watch. And if you look at the crown, you'll see it's signed with that 5-dot logo that represents the ball bearings that were put in the movement that we discussed previously. If we move on to the dial, the watch features this really cool black dial with applied hour markers and logo and Eterna-Matic name, which is printed. It has some really attractive sword hands, which look nice with the applied hour markers. The black dial has aged since its manufacturing in the 50s, showing what watch enthusiasts call spiderweb patina, which is basically lines that have formed on the dial. As discussed at length on Life on the Wrist, patina is subjective, so spiderweb dials are not for everyone, although it is a unique unique look that many collectors enjoy. Moving on to the movement, which I think is extremely important to discuss for this piece, the watch is running on the caliber 1247 UC movement. This was the second variant of the famous Eterna-Matic movements, the original being the 1248, which was introduced in 1949. The same year, the caliber 1247 was introduced and produced until 1954. The caliber has two letters after it, which indicate different things about the movement. All movements that use the suffix U signify the Eterna U shock protection, or a T to signify Eterna T. So what you've got with this movement is additional shock protection that Eterna put into it. Movements with the suffix C indicate a modification to the design. So the caliber 1247 in this watch has shock protection and has some modifications to the overall design of it. The watch was manufactured right in the middle of the movement when the movement was produced, so I'm not really sure what the modifications were made. However, that hopefully gives some more information about this specific movement. I really find this watch an attractive watch to wear. I find the spiderweb dial really interesting to look down on when you have it on your wrist. As you can see, it is going to wear on the smaller side because of those curved lugs, but it has an overall really attractive look. And I think black dials in vintage watches are always a really fun way to enjoy. And to be honest, it's oftentimes hard to find black dial vintage watches, so it makes this watch a little bit more rare. The overall condition is really nice. I think the polishing of the case back is kind of frustrating, but you can still see serial numbers with the loop. It's in fairly original condition. I love the signed crown. I love the holes cases, the whole lugs. You can actually still see bevels on the lugs where you can see 2 different dimensions. So although it has been polished, I do think it has an overall attractive look. The watch is an excellent example of how a company innovated during this time period. The design of this watch is contemporary, with a lovely spiderweb patina that of course will be attracted to a specific type of collector. Nevertheless, wearing a watch that truly stood for innovation is always an enjoyable experience, and a great story to share with those admiring the watch that it will be on your wrist. Hope you enjoyed taking a look at this really incredible Eterna-Matic from 1952. As I mentioned in the video, I really do find this watch to be an incredible place it has a very incredible place in watchmaking history, from the fact that it was a real innovation for the automatic movement. It was an innovation, I think, for the Eterna brand, and I think it's really is a really nice conversation piece from its patina to its innovation. And I think it's a lovely piece to have on the wrist. It is, like I mentioned, it's 33.5, we'll call it 34 millimeters, and the way that the case is designed, it fits a little bit smaller, but really a really attractive watch to have on your wrist nonetheless. I hope you enjoyed hearing sort of about Eterna and its history. I kind of want to make a follow-up video where we go into the detail about sort of more about Eterna and all the innovations that they were a part of, because they really were a huge part of watchmaking. So maybe we'll venture out into creating a video for that. If you want to check out the article for this Eterna-Matic, be sure to go to lifeandthewrist.com and go to the editorial section of our website. You can read the story on our website there. Let me know what you think about the Eterna-Matic. Do you like the spiderweb dial? Do you like the movement? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you have an Eterna in your collection? Please let me know in the comments section below. If you are new to Life on the Wrist, be sure to subscribe to the channel and share this video with a friend. And if you wouldn't mind liking this video, it really does help me out. Stay tuned for our next watch. I will not spoil it, but next week we will be covering one more of the pieces that we covered last week. So stay tuned for that on lifeandthewrist.com, as well as the Life on the Wrist YouTube channel. With that said, guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and until next time.